Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the season finale of the Retro Wrestling Review Series. Season 2, episode... Hold on, just give me a minute. Okay, Season 2, Episode 6. I'm finally going to be getting this up. I'm pretty much just going to go from now until the go-home show... From the episode that I'm on... which is episode, just give me a minute, 357, until the go-home show of NXT Takeover Toronto's, and then after I make this video, I'm gonna make a separate video giving my predictions for it. I know it took me a long. I'm actually finally glad I'm towards the end, but overall, I didn't get bored doing this or anything. It was just getting really difficult because family kept coming in. I had schoolwork and stuff, so I hope I can finally get this done. I got a while, so hopefully I can get this done. So let's start it off. Okay, I didn't really explain the build-up to this show, so let me kind of explain it real quick. What's been going on in NXT up to this point is we have the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics kicking off. We have teams announced already. We have Ty Dellinger and Bobby Roode, DIY, the Revival, who are going to be facing Cedric Alexander and Adriana Cien Almas. And I don't really know who else is going to be in it, so I can't really tell you. And then, what else is going on? We had, lately they've been building up this thing with Samoa Joe, where he, on a couple episodes ago on NXT, he completely destroyed Shinsuke Nakamura and took him out, and he's threatened that if, that William Regal's either going to give him his NXT title rematch with Nakamura, or just hand him the NXT title, or he's going to take out everybody on the NXT roster, and he already started with the Ellie brothers. And they've been continuing the DIY, the Revival feud. The Revival had injured Johnny Gargano's leg, and they completely took out Tommaso Ciampa shortly after, and then they got into a backstage brawl. On the final episode of the Cruiserweight Classic show. Lately, Hideo Itami and Austin Aries have been feuding, because Austin Aries had attacked them at NXT Takeover Brooklyn 2. So Aries, they both been complaining that they've been little babies, and Hideo Itami's pretty much sent Aries packing all this time. And I think that's really it. Nothing really... Oh, and Asuka's also taken out pretty much the entire NXT Women's division. That's about all I think you need to know. There's nothing else I can really think of. So that's been what's been going on with NXT. Okay, so while I have it up, because they just put it up and I screenshotted it, I'm just gonna read off the names that were in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics. So, and so these are all the guys that are in it and who will be facing who and stuff. TM61 is going to be facing Sabelity and Moss. I don't know who that is. Team Aries, who doesn't look like he has a tag team partner yet. So, Bogo, Javik, and Knight. Hideo Itami and Koso. That's who Team Aries will be facing, by the way. Hideo Itami and Kota Ibushi will be facing Lince Dorado and Mustafa Ali. Ty Dellinger and Bobby Roode will be facing Sanity. The Authors of Pain, I already know who won the match, so I'll tell you when I actually review the episode. Wrestled the Bollywood boys. No Way Jose and Rich Swann, which I like the fact that they're teaming up. It makes sense, and obviously it makes sense. I'm really for the TM61 to be in it since they've been in teams for a while. Austin Aries, I'm fine with him being in it. Hatami and Ibushi, I think could be a good team. Dillinger and Roode, I already talked about that. Sanity, I can't wait to see what they do in it. No Way Jose and Rich Swann makes sense. They both have pretty much the same gimmick, so it makes sense. And Nice and Swan and Jose will be facing Tony Nese and Drew Gulak, which is going to be a very which obviously they've been team before, so I like that they're going to be a team. And, it's going to be cool. The Revival, they're the NXT Tag Team Champions, so they deserve to be in there. Are facing Alexander no, Cedric Alexander and Adrian Cien Almas. Hashtag DIY, which is Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa versus Juan and Lon. I don't know who those two are, but yeah. So I think this looks like a good tournament. I think this tournament actually looks better than last year. So let's see how it delivers. Nope, sorry, I didn't hit stop. So let's see how it delivers. Alright, so now we have NXT. Let me just make sure I get the date right. For October 12th. Actually, no, it's not October 12th. It goes right to the next episode on here. October 5th, I believe. Yeah, October 5th, 2016. We had the same people on commentary for this show. It showed a video package hyping up the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, which I thought was nice. We had the first match in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics. It was a first round match. It was the Bollywood Boys versus the Authors of Pain with Paul Ellering ringside. I forget who was in the Bollywood Boys, but they're like one of those fun Indian tag teams. They cut a little promo talking about it as well. But pretty much the Authors of Pain just beat the crap out of them and won with the finisher. Obviously, it makes sense. You want to have them start off dominant, so I thought that was good. Then we had Rich Swann versus Patrick Clark. Thought it was a solid match. Patrick Clark came out, and I don't know what his gimmick's supposed to be, but it's like a gay... I'm going to say maybe a gay male stripper, because that's kind of what it came off as to be. It was really weird. But Rich Swann looked really strong in this match. Patrick Clark hit a 6 spine buster, but Rich Swann ends up winning with the like the 450, except he doesn't go on the top rope. And then Liv Morgan's backstage from last week getting checked on by attendees, and Peyton Royce and Billie Kay come up and make fun of her. And then we had Peyton Royce with Billie Kay versus Danielle Camella. Thought it was an okay match. Peyton Royce wins with a fisherman suplex. Then we had Bobby Roode and Ty Dillinger get interviewed, and they're facing Sanity. Obviously, you know that because I said it earlier. But since they cut a promo about Sanity, and Ty Dillinger goes to talk about what the Dusty Rhodes Classic mean to him, and Bobby Roode says that talks about how glorious he is, and now that Ty Dillinger is teaming up with him, he's become even more glorious. And then when Ty Dillinger goes to continue what he was saying, and Roode's like doing his pose, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm showing how glorious I am." I thought it was hilarious. So I think at first I thought they were gonna force us to boo Ty Dillinger, but I think people are past that. But I don't think that's what's happening here. I think they're just teaming up. I don't know if it's gonna last. I think Ty Dillinger's gonna turn on Bobby Roode probably, cause screw him over. Then we Dan Mather was supposed to make his debut. He was supposed to have his debut match, but then Samoa Joe comes out and just beats the crap out of him. He even hits the splash and the Inseguri in the corner. And Samoa Joe gets on the mic and says tick tock, tick tock. He says some cheesy line and says pretty much, you know, if William Regal, if you don't give me what I want, Shinsuke Nakamura with the NXT title, it's going to get worse. And then he kicks Dan out of the ring, and he says that he says to the Hug camera that William Regal has one more week with us. He's going to intensify it even more. So then No Way Jose and Rich Swann get interviewed, and they talk about how the reason that Rich Swann he picked Rich Swann as his tag team opponent is because life's always tried to hold him down, but he's always said no way Jose, and he always likes having fun. And Rich Swann said that he picked him because what else? Why did he say? Oh, he said that he picked No Way Jose because everybody takes him lightly because he's all fun and games, but when he gets into the ring, he's aggressive. And then they do the catchphrases, "Can you handle this?" and "No Way Jose." I thought it was great. I think this is a really fun tag team. You need to have those fun tag teams in wrestling, and I like this. And then we get another Sanity video package announcing that they're going to be there next week facing Bobby Roode and Ty Dillinger. And then we had the main event. It was another Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic first round match. Andrade Cien Almas and Cedric Alexander versus the Revival. And overall, this was a really good main event. Andrade Cien Almas and Alexander dominate the Revival for a while. And It was really good. And then the Revival get the heat on Almas. There was one spot where Almas had them beat, but had Dawson beat, but Dash was distracting the referee. And then Cedric Alexander gets the hot tag. He starts going off on everybody. And eventually he gets hit with the Shattered Machine. And the Revival win the match. And afterwards, from out of nowhere, Andrade Cien Almas turns heel and he just beats the crap out of Cedric Alexander and plants him face first right to the steel steps. I really didn't see this coming because I never really pictured him turning heel. I just thought he was just going to be there, but I wonder if this is going to be a better route for him, so I don't know what's going on here. But overall, I thought this episode of NXT was really good. I liked the tag team match, the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics, obviously. Witch Swan, Patrick Clark was okay. The women's match was okay, and Samoa Joe coming out there and beating the crap out of somebody was good too. And the interview segment with Bobby Wood and Ty Dillinger was awesome too. And No Way Jose and Witch Swan was really good too. So overall, really good episode of NXT. Okay, so my webcam kind of shit the bed, so I'm making the video off my phone now. So alright, so let's get to this week's episode of NXT. I'm just trying to pull it up. Where was sorry, I'm just kind of lost track. This episode was aired on hold on. This episode aired on October 12th, 2016. We had the same people on commentary. The first match on the show was a Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic first round match. It was Bobby Roode and Ty Dellinger versus Sanity, which I'll get to talking about them. I thought Bobby Roode and Ty Dellinger were really great. They were actually calling them Glorious 10, which I thought would have been a good tag team name if they had actually became a team. And Bobby Roode was chanting Glorious, and Ty Dillinger actually twerked with his thing saying 10 on it, which I thought was funny with his tights. And Sanity come out, and they really didn't get much of a reaction, and I really didn't really care for the gimmick. It just didn't really do it for me. It's an alright gimmick, but it's like, I guess they're supposed to be like thugs, but it's like, it didn't really do, I don't know, it just didn't really do it for me. And they were first wearing masks, and at first we think that it's no, hold on. And at first we don't know who it is, but then they take the mask off. We find out that the two people who actually wrestle a match are Alexander Wolf and Sawyer Fulton, which who were two jobbers pretty much. We hadn't seen them in a while, and the match gets underway. We don't know who the other two are yet, and they just destroy Ty Dillinger. They beat the crap out of him, and Bobby Roode goes in the ring to help him, but he doesn't really want to deal with Wolf and Fulton, so he backs off. And I thought Ty Dillinger sold it perfectly when he said, "Bobby!" You know, I thought that was great. And they win pretty much with a version of the Magic Killer, except they hit it with they hit a suplex instead of twisting them, and they went and Sanity win. And we're not done there because one of there was a short person and like a regular sized person, and the short person continuously attacks Ty Dillinger, and we find out that it's Rick Cross, I believe her name is. Forget her name off the top of my head, but we've seen her before. And I thought that was actually a nice swerve because I didn't expect to see her out there. And then the other mask guy lays out Ty Dillinger with an inverted neck breaker, and he takes it off, and it's Eric Young, which you obviously knew it was Eric Young because of the jacket. And no one really reacted when it was Eric Young, which I was surprised about because Eric Young is like a huge talent, and from TNA, and I was surprised he didn't. It would have been more of a moment maybe if he had debuted here instead of because he has debuted before. He debuted months ago against Samoa Joe when he had the NXT title, so maybe it would have been better if this was actually Eric Young's debut. And I overall I thought the beatdown was nice. The gimmick didn't really do it for me. I don't think the crowd really cared about it either. They were just kind of eh. So, and then Billy Kay and Peyton Royce were backstage, and they got asked about facing Liv Morgan, and Billy Kay and Peyton Royce pretty much just laughed at it. So then Bobby Roode got interviewed, and he talked about how Ty Dillinger is the perfect loser, and he said that he didn't even want to be his tag team partner. He had to come beg him, and he said that he doesn't want to deal with Ty Dillinger ever again. I thought that was just a good promo. Then we have Billy Kay with Peyton Royce versus Liv Morgan. Overall, a solid match. Billy Kay wins with the big boots. Overall, it was a solid match. Then we had Adriana Cien Almas interview. This was from last week after he had laid out Cedric Alexander. And he said that he laid out Cedric Alexander because nobody knows who he is, and he says that he's the greatest wrestler of all time, and that Cedric Alexander is weak for losing to the Revival like that. Then we had TM61 versus Tino Sabatelli, I think is how you say that name, and Riddick Moss, and another Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics first round match. I thought this was a really good match, and it was really good. TM61 dominate the first half of the match, and then they get the heat on, and actually too, I forgot to Shane Woods almost kicked Nick Miller right in the head again. I think that's hilarious when he almost does that. And no, it's not Shane Thorne. It's Shane Thorne, not Shane Woods. Sorry. And then the heels get the heat on Shane Thorne for a while. Then Nick Miller gets the hot tag. I wonder if actually is he doing that on purpose though, Shane Thorne. Like they're setting up that spot on purpose because he wouldn't stand right there again. I just don't see that happen. But Shane Thorne gets the hot tag and they win with Thunder Valley. But overall, it was a pretty good tag team match. And then we had the main event. It was Buddy Murphy versus Wesley Blake. Obviously, this is a match that made sense because you had them who have been feuding whether they do or don't want to be a tag team, which I still hate that feud. And they had the match. It didn't really get going because Samoa Joe came in and beat the crap out of them. They hit the modified Uranagi on the apron on both of them, what he did. And he says that it's time to make a decision. Is it going to be Nakamura or the title? And then Shinsuke Nakamura returns, which I definitely popped for. And he was wearing a neck brace, and I thought he was just going to come out and get beaten down again. But he takes off the neck brace, and he charges right at Samoa Joe, and they just get into a huge brawl. And security has to come break it up, and eventually they do, and Nakamura's in the ring, and he just starts taking out security and goes right after Joe again. And Nakamura gets taken to the back, and he takes out security backstage, runs back out, starts attacking Joe. Joe runs off, and Nakamura gets pissed, so he takes out a security guard member, hits him with a Kim Sasha, and I think they're like, this segment's going to be done, but then Samoa Joe comes back, they start brawling, and since they took out all the security guards pretty much, there was no one left to break them up, and it ends with Shinsuke Nakamura hitting the Kim Sasha, knocking out Samoa Joe, and standing tall. I thought this was great because you had to have Shinsuke Nakamura get his vengeance for a couple of weeks ago. You needed to make him look a little strong. This was a good way to do so. Overall, I thought this was a really good episode of NXT. I did like the opening segment, just really didn't care about the gimmick. The women's match was okay. Almas' interview was good. I liked the foreboding of a feud between him and Cedric Alexander. And the tag team, the two tag matches were good. And obviously the main event was just there, but the blow-up between Samoa Joe and Nakamura was good. So overall, I give it like a 9 out of 10. Okay, so now we're on to NXT for just give me a minute. It's gonna take me a little bit to find it. October 19th, 2016. We had the same people on commentary. The first match was was a Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics first round match. It was Rich Swann and No Way Jose versus Tony Nese and Drew Gulak. This was actually a solid tag team match. I thought it was pretty good. There was a 6 spot where No Way Jose caught Drew Gulak into his famous knuckleball that he likes to hit. Then Rich Swann dives on Tony Nese, and No Way Jose hit the inverted full Nelson Slam on Tony Nese for the win. And afterwards, they cut a promo saying that not to underestimate on the Authors of Pain, telling them not to underestimate him. So, and they say, you can't handle that. No Way Jose. Thought it was really funny. Like I said, I think this is actually a fun tag team. And then Ty Dillinger gets interviewed, and he talks about how Bobby Roode sold out to him. He lied to him because he really wanted to win the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics, but Bobby Roode robbed him of that. And he said that he doesn't have a problem with Sanity, but at NXT Takeover Toronto, he's been granted a match against Bobby Roode. So I thought that was a good promo. And then Austin Aries gets interviewed, and we found out that Hideo Itami got injured. So pretty much Austin Aries says that he's a little baby for faking an injury when he's not, he really isn't injured. And he's in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics too, so he gets asked who his tag team partner is, but he said he won't admit it. And then we get Bobby Roode versus Sean Maluda. Bobby Roode wins with the jumping DDT. It was a good way to make Bobby Roode look strong. And afterwards, he cuts a promo on Ty Dillinger saying that he really doesn't have a problem with him. He just wanted to make him better because he's a perfect loser. And he said that he just isn't as glorious as Bobby Roode. Then Ty Dillinger runs up and they brawl for a little bit, and Ty Dillinger clotheslines him over the ropes. And I thought it was a good brawl. Bobby Roode actually looked pretty strong doing it. He actually kicked his ass for a while, so I thought that was good. And then Liv Morgan gets interviewed, and she talks about how she goes to talk about how she hasn't made excuses about everything that's happened to her, and then she gets attacked by Bailey Kay and Peyton Royce from behind. They beat the crap out of her, and they take her to the entrance ramp and just knock her out with a kick to the head. And they said that, and pretty much they say that they're putting everybody on notice, including Asuka, and saying that they're going to take over the NXT Women's Division. So I thought that was good. Then we had another Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics first round match. Tucker Knight and Otis Dozovic, I think is how you say that, versus Team Aries. We found out that Austin Aries' mystery partner was Roderick Strong, who I've heard of, but I haven't seen any of his matches, but he actually looked really good out there. And Tucker Knight and Otis cut a little promo saying that they want to feed, so they're pretty much like Ryback, and they want to win the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics. And they actually kind of remind me in a way of the Natural Disasters tag team back in the day, so thought that was interesting. But it was overall a good match, and Team Aries win when Roderick Strong hits a gutbuster into a running knee, so overall it was a solid. Then we Andrade Cien Almas gets interviewed, and he gets was like, since he can't really speak English, his translator translated everything that he said, and he says that he turned heel because when he came to NXT to be able to get signed to NXT, he had to remove his mask, and he feels like that he did that for respect for NXT, but they didn't return the respect to him. So that was pretty much the whole reason. I actually think this heel gimmick gonna fit him really well, and it actually reminds me of Alberto Del Rio, except he has more talent. So I actually think this gimmick could work for Almas. Alright, then we have Nick Cross. I think it's supposed to be Nikki Cross because it's a women's match, with Alexander Wolf, Sawyer Fulton, and Eric Young versus Danielle Camella. And Nikki Cross, I just think she's awesome. I think this group's actually pretty good. I definitely was more behind it on this episode. And Nikki Cross just beats the crap out of Daniel, and she wins with a Northern Light suplex. Everybody wins with Northern Light suplexes on NXT, I've noticed. And afterwards, she just continuously beats down Danielle, so the referee reverses and actually, she continuously does it, and Eric Young pulls her off, but Cross ends up hitting a forearm on Eric Young, which I thought was funny. So Sawyer Fulton eventually has to pull her off, and the referee reverses his decision and declares Danielle Carmelo the victor. So I actually kind of like this. You know, it kind of showed that Nikki Cross didn't care about winning matches. All she cared about was beating somebody up. So I thought that was good. And then we had the main event segment of the show. Shinsuke Nakamura comes out and he talks about how he what did he talk about? He talks about how he'll face Samoa Joe in his rematch and he'll beat him up with no mercy. And then Patrick Clark comes out and talks about how we've already seen the Samoa Joe Shinsuke Nakamura chapter. It ended with you, him nearly ending your career. So he says that, why don't you fight me right now? So Shinsuke Nakamura beats the shit out of him, kicks him in the head, and Samoa Joe starts to walk out, but Nakamura and him start having a face-off, and then he hits the Kim Sasha onto Patrick Clark to end the show. And that was it. Overall, I thought it was a really good episode of NXT. They built up a lot of matches for NXT Takeover Toronto. They built up the Rude Ty Dillinger match. They had two good, I wouldn't say two pretty good NXT Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics match. You know what I mean. Almas I thought was good on the show. The women's stuff was pretty good on the show. And the main event segment was good on the show. So overall, a good show. I would give it maybe a 7 out of 10. Okay, so now on to NXT Form. Let me make sure I got the right date. October 26, 2016. We had the same people on commentary, and the first match was a Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic first round match. Hashtag DYI, which is Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, versus Tane Bin and Ho Ho Lu. I think that's how you say those names. Ho Ho Lu is a cruiserweight classic competitor, and Tin Bane just came into the company. Well, at the time, anyways. Overall, this was a solid tag team match, though. But hashtag DYI get the victory with the super kick knee combo. And funny thing is now they're going to be facing the Revival, so obviously they can continue that feud, which I think they may win that match. Because I don't think the Revival or hashtag DYI are gonna have are gonna be in the tag team classics, because that really wouldn't make it, like, are gonna be in the finals. I think they're gonna actually go off and do their own thing. I think whoever wins that match will screw the other team over and kind of set up a match between them. And then TJ Perkins and Kota Ibushi get interviewed, and it was an okay interview. They talk about, you know, how, because TJ Perkins now has to be Kota Ibushi's tag team partner, because originally it was supposed to be Hideo Itami, but he ended up getting injured, like I talked about earlier, so what's not happening. I think they talked about how they were going to win the tournament and how much of an honor it would be. And then Samoa Joe addresses the NXT universe, and he talks about how he came to NXT to destroy people, and that's exactly what he did to Shinsuke Nakamura. And he said that anytime he wanted to, he could go out there and destroy him. But last week he just went out there just to see what he could do, and he said that the next time they face off, Nakamura is going to be out for a long time. Then we had Aaliyah versus Billie Kay with Peyton Royce ringside. Solid match. I think Aaliyah's improved in this match, and Billie Kay, actually, I was about to say that she won, but Liv Morgan comes out and attacks Peyton Royce, and Aaliyah distracts Billie Kay, and Aaliyah rolls up Billie for the win. And afterwards, Liv Morgan attacks Billie Kay, and Royce and Kay beat the crap out of Morgan. And Aaliyah comes in to make the save, but however, this still isn't enough to fend off Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. They end up beating the crap, and Billie Kay kicks Aaliyah in the head, knocking her out. So overall, I thought that was solid. Probably building up to some sort of takeover match between either Billie Kay and Liv Morgan, or like a tag team match maybe. And then we had Noah Pogies versus Ty Dillinger. It was a squash match. Ty Dillinger wins with a tiebreaker. Then afterwards, he talks about how all Bobby Roode has done since he's come to NXT is run, but he said he's not going to be able to do that in NXT Takeover Toronto. Then Bobby Roode attacks him from behind and hits the jumping DDT on the stage. I thought this was good. This made Bobby Roode look really strong. And then TM61 get interviewed, and they talk about pretty much state why they're going to advance into the NXT Tag Team Tournament Classics. I actually forget who they're facing, not gonna lie. And then we had Thea Trinidad versus Asuka. Asuka won with the elbow. And then William Regal comes out and says that he scoured the world trying to find a woman to face Asuka in NXT Takeover Toronto. And he said that he found that someone, and up on the screen pops up Mickie James, and she says pretty much that she's going to be that she's fought everybody all over the world. And she said that it's been a while since she's been in the WWE win. And she said that you better shine that belt up for me because I am coming to take the NXT Women's title for the Revolution. This was definitely a knockout moment, even though it was spoiled ahead of time. It was still cool to see Mickie James back in a WWE capacity because we haven't seen her since 2010. So it's definitely... I'm glad she's going to have a last match. Obviously, the last time we saw her, it was last year in TNA when she was doing that whole James Storm Magnus feud. So I wonder if Magnus, now that Mickie James has come back to the company, if they're going to try to get Magnus to come to the company. So that would be awesome. But then we have the Authors of Pain and Paul Ellering backstage, and they get interviewed. And Paul Ellering said that he came to NXT with a plan and a strategy. And he said that the Authors of Pain of a strategy. And he said that Rich Swann and No Way Jose have bright futures here, but they're not going to advance into the tournament at the Authors of Pain's expense. And then the Authors of Pain say something in like French or something. I couldn't really make it out. Then we had the main event. It was Mustafa Ali and Lince Dorado versus T.J. Perkins and Kota Ibushi in a Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic first round match. This was the last first round match, and this was obviously a really good last first round match. At first, they all just started really trying to drop kick each other, but they were too fast. And then T.J. Perkins gets Ali into the knee bar, but he's able to get out of it. And then Mustafa dominates T.J. Perkins for a while, and Kota Ibushi gets the hot tag on Lince Dorado, and he starts going off on everybody. And eventually he just tags in T.J. Perkins, and he hits a dive on the outside. There was a spot too where he hit the moonsault, and T.J. Perkins hit the frog splash, which was cool. And T.J. Perkins goes for the knee bar on Lince Dorado, but Lince Dorado is able to counter with a roll up. And then eventually T.J. Perkins wins by making Ali tap to the knee bar, so they advance in the tournament, and they're going to be so now the brackets. Hashtag DYI versus the Revival. Sanity, which is going to be Sawyer Fulton and Alexander Wolf versus T.J. Perkins and Kota Ibushi. And at the time too that this match happened, by the way, as you mentioned, that T.J. Perkins was the Cruiserweight Champion. I forget who TM61 is facing, but it's and also it's going to be the Authors of Pain versus No Way Jose. Oh, I know. Oh, TM61 are facing Team Aries. That's who they're facing. But it's also going to be the Authors of Pain versus No Way Jose and Rich Swann. So it's a really good second round matchup because I thought the first round match was really good. So overall, I thought this was a really good episode of NXT. I would rate it maybe still like a 7 out of 10, like usual. Alright, so now I'm going to do my predictions for NXT TakeOver Toronto. Now, to be honest, I don't know the match card, like all the matches off the top of my head, and I can't look them up because the show's already happened, and it would be kind of spoiling the show if I did that, so I'm just going to try to remember them off the top of my head. I think they said them all on the last episode of NXT I just watched, so I'm just going to remember. Overall, the show looked really good, though. Every match had some type of purpose. Every match has some type of meaning. I'm not going to say what it is, just because if you watch the video, if you've been watching this video, you know the purpose, you know the reason. So we have Bobby Roode versus Ty Dellinger. I'm actually looking forward to this match. I think this could be a really good match. I think this is going to be one of those matches that people don't think is going to deliver, but can deliver. I think Bobby Roode's really talented. Ty Dillinger's really talented. It's still really weird for me to see Bobby Roode in a WWE win when he was in TNA for so long. It's just really weird for me. And Ty Dillinger, I think, is really I'm glad that he finally is getting pushed, because he's always... it feels like they've always wanted to do something with Ty Dillinger, but he was just never in the right place. He was never in the right spot. There's always someone just over him. So I'm glad he's finally getting like a real showcase here. And I think Bobby Roode's going to win this match, just because he's the new signee of NXT. And I think they really want to push Bobby Roode possibly to become NXT champion. So I think Bobby Roode's going to win this match. Then we have the 2 tag matches on the show. We have the 2 out of 3 falls match for the NXT Tag Team Championships. NXT Tag Team Champions, The Revival versus #DYI. I'm actually looking forward to this match a lot. The match at NXT Takeover Brooklyn was good, and they just really have upped the ante with this feud by having the Revival saying that they're top guys, and they prove why they're not top guys. So I'm really looking forward to this matchup, and having the Revival screw DYI out of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics, and having them chicken out of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics. So I'm looking forward to this match. As for I think is going to win, I think it's time you put the tag titles on #DYI. I think it makes sense to put the tag belts on them. That's gonna it would really. I think it's time that new tag team, that they're really over. So I think it's time to put the NXT tag titles on them. And then we have the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics itself. You have the Authors of Pain versus TM61 with Paul Ellering painted over the shark cage. They haven't done this type of match in a while. I don't know the last time they did it, but they used to do them like way back in the day. I've never actually seen one myself, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do with this. But I think I really enjoyed the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics. I think I enjoyed it this year than I did last year, just because you actually got to see all the matches in the tournament, and they were just all really good matches. You have the Authors of Pain, who've beaten... They beat some Jobber Tag Team the first time, then they beat Witch Swan and No Way Jose, and then they beat #DYI. You have TM61, who beat... I forget who they beat the first time, but then they beat... and then they beat... Well, Shane Thorne beat Roderick Strong in a one-on-one match that got him into the tournament. And then TM61 beat Alexander Wolf and Sawyer Fulton. So I think this is going to be a great matchup. And they had a match on an episode of NXT before that was pretty good, and I expect this one to be so much better. And I still you have the Authors of Pain, and both teams could use the victory. You have the Authors of Pain, who are the dominant tag team, and it would really put them over huge if they won. That would really put them over as a tag team to take notice of. And TM61 are kind of like that underdog tag team, and they've been really good together as a team. But overall, I think the Authors of Pain are going to win. I still think they're going to find a way to win. I think Paul Ellerman's going to help them win somehow, some way. I think the Authors of Pain could just win clean and just win in a dominant fashion. So one of those two. And then we have the two championship match. Well, the two main matches on the show. We have the NXT Women's Championship match. NXT Women's Champion Asuka versus Mickie James. And I can't wait to see this match. This match is going to be a really good match. You have Mickie James, who's a really good women's wrestler. Asuka, same thing. And you have Asuka, who's just who's undefeated. It's taking out everybody on the NXT Women's division. And no one's been able to stop her. Mickie James, you have her coming back. And she's a former Women's Divas and TNA Knockouts champion. So you really have a lot of potential there. As for who to win, I think this is kind of like one of those passing the torch matches. I really don't see the point of having Mickie James come back just to beat Asuka. I think Asuka is going to beat Mickie James, just because I think they want to have Asuka look really strong, and beating a former women's champion would do just that. I think the person that is going to end up beating Asuka for the NXT Women's title is going to be Ember Moon, just because it would make sense. I think we want to give it to a new star. And then you have the NXT Championship match. It's Shinsuke Nakamura, NXT champion, versus Samoa Joe. I see Nakamura winning it. He just won the title not that long ago. And you have Samoa Joe. who's really kind of looked strong in this feud. He just took out Nakamura that one time. He's looked really strong. I think Nakamura is going to finally put an end to the Samoan submission machine. So overall, those are my predictions. I'll say them again so that way you guys can hear it. I predict that Bobby Roode's going to defeat Ty Dillinger. I predict that #DYI are going to beat the Revival in the 2 out of 3 Falls match and become the new NXT Tag Team Champions. I predict that the Authors of Pain are going to win the Dusty Woods Tag Team Classics by beating TM61. I predict that Asuka is going to retain her NXT Women's Championship against Mickie James. And I predict that Shinsuke Nakamura is going to retain his NXT Championship against Samoa Joe. And that's pretty much it, guys. I'm going to be watching the show now. I'm going to watch the pre-show and the real show itself. And I'm going to do it, structure it like I've been doing the TakeOver reviews when I've been doing these. I'm going to watch the pre-show itself. And then after each match, I'll come on here and get my thoughts on it. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Okay, so on to the pre-show of WWE NXT TakeOver Toronto. We had Charlie Caruso, Lita, and Mauro Ranallo on the panel. I thought they did a pretty good job on the panel. Mauro Ranallo especially, he was great. Lita was good. Charlie Caruso was a bit awkward at times, but it was the first time doing this, so I'm not going to give her too much crap for it. And really nothing happened on the pre-show. They just really talked about the code, talked about who was going to win and all that stuff. So nothing really happened, but overall a good pre-show. I was actually paying attention to most of it. So now I'm going to actually review the actual show itself. Okay, so now we have the actual show itself. We have the same people on commentary. It shows a nice little video package of talking about how a WWE, the main roster, has taken over Canada, Toronto, Canada in the past. And now NXT is doing the same thing. I thought it was a really well done video package. And we had the same people on commentary, like I said before. And we got the first match on the show. It was Bobby Roode versus Ty Dillinger. I thought this was the perfect match to open the show. It kind of belonged in that spot as opening the show. Just because this was the matchup that was important, but it wasn't as important as like the other matches on this show. So I think it makes sense to have this match. Like I don't want to say this match wasn't important, but you have like the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics. That's kind of a little bit more important. I don't know if you want to open the show with that. You have, obviously you're not going to open it up with the NXT title and the women's title match. And you got the NXT tag title match that could have opened the show. But this match, I think, was in the perfect spot on the show. Overall, I really enjoyed it. Now, the first thing that happened was Bobby Roode had a choir sending him to the win, sending his theme song, Glorious. No, I won't give in till I'm victorious. I thought that was great. And I just love this theme song. It's still so weird to see. I've been mentioning it a lot, but it's still weird for me to see Bobby Roode in NXT. A TNA original, really, in NXT. It's just really weird. But overall, this was a good opening matchup here. Ty Dillinger dominates the first half of the matchup. Actually, what was the funny about this matchup was Ty Dillinger was beating the crap out of Bobby Roode, and he was going like this, asking for mercy. But so Ty Dillinger was like, "You calling me a perfect 10?" So then Bobby Roode's like, "No, I'm not." So then Ty Dillinger stomps on his hands, and he starts going like this because his hands are in pain. So he starts thinking he's calling him a perfect 10, so Ty Dillinger starts doing it. And then Bobby Roode backdrops Ty Dillinger out of the ring. And he just really dominates Ty Dillinger from that point, which I thought was good. And then Ty Dillinger starts to make a comeback. Bobby Roode starts punching him in the corner. Ty Dillinger hits up an atomic drop out of the corner. And then, what else? Bobby Roode had gone for a neck breaker at one point. Ty Dillinger, the first time, counted into a backslide. Bobby Roode kicks out, and then Bobby Roode eventually hit the neck breaker, which looks sick. And then Bobby Roode hit a glorious plex, which they're calling it, off the top rope, which is a superplex. And then they both really started going off on each other. They both started trading rights and left hands at each other. Ty Dillinger started really then started another comeback, and then Bobby Roode tried to go for the tiebreaker to mock Ty Dillinger, after he had hit his spine buster, and Ty Dillinger kicked out of it. And Ty Dillinger went to counter into a super kick, but Bobby Roode counters into a roll up, and he tries to use cheat by putting his feet on the ropes, but the referee catches him. So Bobby Roode thinks he's won it first, but the referee tells him that he caught him, and then they start arguing. Ty Dillinger tries to roll up Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode kicks out, and then Ty Dillinger hits the super kick. Bobby Roode kicked out of that, and then what else? Ty Dillinger went for the tiebreaker, but then Bobby Roode counters, tosses Ty Dillinger into the steel post back and forth, and then hits the DDT for the win. But overall, it was a really good opening matchup, and I think this has been the match of Ty Dillinger's career. I think this is going to really put him on the map. I always thought that they wanted to push Ty Dillinger, and I still think that they do. He just, like I said, has never been in the right spot, but I think this is going to finally put him in that right spot in that right moment. So I'm really glad that he got to shine. You know, in a way, he still looked strong. He still had his big moment, in a way, even though he lost. And afterwards, he apologizes. And these were obviously the home country boys. So they were both really over. And obviously, Bobby would make sense to have go over because he's the new signee of NXT. He's like the big talk, and I think there's going to be big things for Bobby Roode in NXT. But overall, a really good opening matchup. Okay, so next match is the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics Tournament Finals match. It's the Authors of Pain versus TM61 with Paul Ellering, Hayden over in a shark cage. I think that's a good concept to have him do that. You really don't, like I said, you really don't see that no more. Yeah, he actually legitimately hand interferes. It makes more sense than banning him from ringside, because then he can just find a way. This way you can kind of keep him the wrestler contained. I kind of wish they would do that more nowadays. And this actually was a really good tag team match. I really enjoyed it. TM61 just dominate the Authors of Pain in the beginning. They hit double drop kicks outside the ring. And Nick Miller hit a dive onto Akam. And Shane Thorne tries to dive on Rizzo, but he catches him in a power bomb, like in an electric chair. And what ends up happening is Rizzo starts to. There's the structure that's holding this the steel cage that Paul Ellering is in, and he starts climbing the structure. And it looked really cool. So then Shane Thorne's able to fight out of it, and he kicks Rizzo down, and he hits a sick spinning dive, like one of those sick flip dives right onto the Authors of Pain. That was really cool. And then behind the referee's back, Akam chop blocks Shane Thorne, and he ends up landing on his head onto the apron. And the Authors of Pain just dominate Shane Thorne. They pretty much get the heat on him. Akam ended up tossing Shane Thorne halfway across the ring, which looked really cool. And after seeing this match and watching Shane Thorne's match with Roderick Strong, I think that Shane Thorne's actually the better wrestler out of the two members of the TM61. I just really think he is. I think he's better. I think he's better than Nick Miller. Just my opinion, though. And then eventually, Nick Miller gets the hot tag, and he starts going off on the Authors of Pain. And he hits a moonsault. I didn't see which one it was, so I can't really tell you. But he hits a moonsault on one of them, and they kick out. And he kicks out. And then TM61 start taking out the Authors of... start punching the Authors of Pain in the corner. And they go to hit the... the powerbomb sandwich, the Authors of Pain. But then TM61 counter into Hurricanranas, and they end up bumping into each other. And then they hit Thunder Valley on one of them. But he ends up kicking out of it. No, the other other member of the Authors of Pain breaks it up, and then Shane Thorne and the other member of the Authors of Pain start fighting on the outside. They knock each other out, and Nick Miller dives onto Shane Thorne and the other members of the Authors of Pain, and Paul Ellering throws down a chain so one of the members of the Authors of Pain can use it as a weapon, and before he can use it. Nick Miller um, hits a shoulder right to the gut from the apron, and he tries to roll him up, but that member of Authors of Pain is able to fight out of it. He hits a one-handed spine buster, and then the Authors of Pain hit the final chapter for the win. Clean. They won without Paul Ellington's help, pretty much, because the chain didn't work. So they pretty much won by themselves. I actually thought that made them look really dominant. I thought that was good, and they become the second people ever to win the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics, and I'm absolutely fine with that. I would have been what I liked about this match is it was really unpredictable. You really didn't know who was going to win. You have because like I said earlier, you had the Authors of Pain who have been looking dominant. No one's been able to stop them in NXT, but TM61, you had them as the underdogs. They could have been that team that finally stopped them, and they won't. And I like that because you're really pushing the Authors of Pain, and I think that's really good. And yeah, and the Authors of Pain I can see being future NXT Tag Team Champions, and I kind of hope they go in that direction. So yeah, overall I thought this was a really good tag match. I was into it, and you really didn't know who was gonna win. And afterwards, Triple H and Dustin Runnels present them with the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics trophy, which obviously I love that trophy. I think that looks really cool. And overall, this is a really good tag match. Okay, so now we have the NXT Tag Team Championship 2 out of 3 falls match. NXT Tag Team Champions The Revival versus hashtag DYI. This was a phenomenal match. I thought this match was way better than the match at NXT Takeover Brooklyn 2. Not that that match was bad, it just this was better. So the match starts out right out of the gates. DYI dominate the first half of the match, and then the Revival get the heat on Tommaso Ciampa. They really dominate him. There's hit body slams and the double team leg drop where one of them picks up the other and hits a leg drop on him. And then eventually Johnny Gargano gets the hot tag and he starts going off on everybody. He even hits a hold on one second. He even hits a neck breaker, like a sick neck breaker right onto Dawson, which I thought looked cool. And eventually Johnny Gargano tries to hit his launching spear that he likes to hit coming into the ring, but the Revival catch him into the Shattered Machine, which I thought looked really cool, and the Revival get the first fall. Hashtag DYI realize they're in trouble because now they have to try to catch up and try to get 2 falls, which I thought made the story of the match work really well. And the Revival just dominate Johnny Gargano for a while. They kick his ass. And Johnny Gargano keeps trying to get into the corner, but they keep pulling him away. Dash tries to cheap shot Tommaso Ciampa on the outside, so he sees it coming. So he starts chasing. So he attacks him, and Gargano goes to eventually does tag Tommaso Ciampa, but the referee didn't see it because he was paying attention to Dash. So Tommaso Ciampa isn't really the legal man, so the Revival just start beating the crap out of Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa chases Dash around the ring, and this is more of a distraction. The referee has to kick control of Tommaso Ciampa, and the Revival hit the heart attack on Gargano, but he kicks out of it, and the Revival try to go for the Shattered Machine again, but Gargano counters into a drop kick and a DDT on Dash, and Tommaso Ciampa gets the hot tag. He starts really going off on everybody. He starts going off on Dawson, and he hits 3 German suplexes, and Dawson still kicks out of it, which I thought was really cool. And what else happened? Eventually, trying to think if I'm missing anything. I want to make sure I don't miss anything in this match. And then Johnny Gargano hit a dive on the outside. Eventually, the hashtag DYI win with the head combo, where they do the knee to the head into the super kick on I believe it was Dawson for the win, One up to get the second fall, so then it's tied 2-2. So then it's tied 1-1. It's now sudden death. And the Revival and hashtag DY just really go off on each other. Johnny Gargano hits a DDT onto Dawson, a springboard DDT. The Revival with Dash hits his uppercut with Dawson hitting a German suplex on Tommaso Ciampa, which looked really cool. And they just dominate, and they both try to exchange roll-ups on each other, but they keep kicking out of it. And eventually, what else? There was just so many innovative moves in this match. Tommaso Ciampa hits like a reverse inverted head scissors onto Dawson. Dawson hits a crossbody onto Dawson when Johnny Gargano was trying to roll him up. The Revival just try every trick in the book pretty much to retain those championships. They try to Dawson grabs one of the NXT Tag Team Championships. No, and actually Dash grabs one of the NXT Tag Team Championships, and Tommaso Ciampa takes himself and Dawson out of the ring, and Dash Gargano goes for a super kick, and Dash holds a title right in front of his face behind the referee, so it ends up taking out Johnny Gargano's leg, so he gets him to the inverted figure four. The same finisher submission move that Gargano tapped out to at NXT Takeover Brooklyn 2. And you think he's gonna tap, but he ends up getting to the ropes. I thought that was great, and he just doesn't have any use of his knees at all. And then there was one spot where Dawson acted like he was hurt. He was covering himself, but he wasn't a legal man, so he was trying to cheat, and Dawson tried to cheat by rolling him up, but the referee realized he wasn't a legal man, so he told him to get out. And Dawson and Dash chop blocks Gargano's leg. And they try to go for the head strike combo onto the Revival. Try to go for the head strike combo on Gargano, but Gargano ducks, and Dash accidentally super kicks Dawson, and the hashtag DYI hit the Shatter Machine on Dash, which I thought was sick, and I thought they were going to win the match right there, but Dawson ended up breaking it up. And then eventually the finish finally came when Johnny Gargano got in a submission move like a triantula onto Dash, and Tommaso Ciampa tried to Dawson tried to save it, but Tommaso Ciampa got him into the elbow, and they were trying to hold each other's hands to stay out of it, but they couldn't. And what I liked about it was when Ciampa had the elbow in, he had it right in front of Dash, so he would have to see him tap out. And you hear Dawson say, "Please don't tap," and they both end up tapping out, and hashtag DYI become the brand new NXT Tag Team Champions. I thought this was great. I think it makes sense to finally put the belts on them. They had finally been chasing for the belts, finally been achieving success, and it was finally time to put the championships on them. I think they're going to make great NXT Tag Team Champions. I think they're great wrestlers, and I think they belong in the NXT Tag Team title picture, and I think it's time to start eventually down the line to call up the Revival to feud with the New Day for the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships, and maybe have them beat the New Day for the Raw Tag Team Championships. I hope that happens and they break the record. I think that could really make them huge, but we're going to have to wait and see what they do. But overall, this was a really good match. I think this was probably so far the match of the night. But we still have a lot of great matches to come, so let's see if this is the match of the night. Okay, so now we have the NXT Women's Championship match. NXT Women's Champion Asuka versus Mickie James. This match was great. Not better than the NXT Tag Title match. I thought that match was actually better than that. But this match was great. They both started by chain wrestling each other, playing mind games with each other, which I thought was good. You have Asuka with a smile, and Mickie James ends up drop kicking Asuka, and she has to roll outside the ring to recover. So then Mickie James holds the ropes for her to get into the ring to kind of play mind games with her, and then Asuka hits a hip attack on Mickie James, and then she goes to do the same thing, but Asuka tricks her and attacks her with the ropes, and then she hits the hip attack outside the ring, and Then Mickey James hits a Hurricanrana on the outside, and then hits a kick as well. And then Asuka gets her in the ankle lock and hits a German suplex on the floor, which looks sick. And Asuka just dominates the match for a while, hits drop kicks in the corner, and pretty much dominates Mickey James. Really works on it, and then eventually Asuka starts hitting a bunch of kicks, and Mickey James kind of hulks up from it, and she gets her into a half Boston Crab. And then she puts her in the Moolah lock, and you think that Asuka's going to tap out, but she ends up getting to the ropes. And then they both really start all going to town. They start trading blows with each other. And, what else happened? Mickey James hits the Zenith Senton off the top rope, but Asuka kicks out of it. Mickey James hits a sick Bulldog in the match, and then, Mickey James and Asuka start exchanging right hands, and Asuka goes for a kick, starts exchanging, getting ready to hit her kicks, and as she goes to kick Mickey in the head, but Mickey slaps her, and then they start intensely looking at each other, and then eventually Mickey hits the Mick kick, and you think that Mickey's gonna win the matchup right there, but Asuka gets her foot on the rope, so the count gets broken up, and then eventually Asuka tries to get her in the Asuka lock, but she just can't get it in. Mickey James keeps trying to fight out of it. She ends up rolling her up, but then she gets Mickey into a crossface, and Mickey James ends up tapping out, and Asuka wins, which I'm fine with. I thought this made Asuka look really dominant, and it was really good. This was a really good match. I thought it was actually a great match, but just not match of the night. But you know, it was kind of like a passing of the torch. Mickey James was putting over Asuka, and if this ends up being Mickey James's last match, I wouldn't complain, because she looked really good out there, and she went out on her back and put over a new talent. But she really got, I didn't mention, she got a huge ovation when she came back. Everybody was really into her, and I'm glad to see that. And I'm glad that this is going to be her last match if she does call it quits. And then afterwards, Mickey James offers her handshake to Asuka, but Asuka holds up the title, kind of signifying, no, I don't care about respect. I only care about the NXT Women's Championship, and walks away. So I like that. So I thought that was really good right there. Alright, so then we had the main event. It was the NXT Championship match. NXT Champion Shinsuke Nakamura versus Samoa Joe. And this match was awesome. I don't think it was better than the NXT Tag Title match, though. I think that NXT Tag Title match was a little bit better. But this match was awesome. I really enjoyed it. It starts out with Samoa Joe and Nakamura just brawling. And Samoa Joe kicks his ass for, like, they start doing strikes towards each other, and Samoa Joe really kicks Nakamura's leg, which really becomes important in this match. And then Nakamura and Joe brawl on the outside. Nakamura tosses Joe into the barricade. He hits a big boot and knocks Joe right into the crowd, and they stop brawling in the crowd for a little while. And then they get back in the ring. Nakamura still dominates the matchup. And Samoa Joe then hits in like an atomic drop, but he had Nakamura's legs crossed, and he dropped him that way. It actually looked really sick. And Samoa Joe just dominates this match. He really starts working on the leg of Shinsuke Nakamura, but he really dominates. He hits the splash and the insecurity in the corner, and just pretty much dominates the matchup. He hits a suicide dive on the outside. Then Nakamura starts to make a comeback, and I'm trying to think what else happened in this match. Samoa Joe hits the Yoanagi coming out of the corner. He hits the senton onto Nakamura, and Shinsuke Nakamura hits his comeback. Hits the like the Kim Sasha coming off the top rope, which looked really cool, like the way he sets it up. And then Shinsuke Nakamura, Samoa Joe tries to go for the Muscle Buster. Nakamura counters into a roll up, and then Samoa Joe hits a power bomb into the half Boston Crab, then into the STF, then into the crossface, which was a really sick transitions. Samoa Joe was gonna try to Uranagi Nakamura on the steps again, but Nakamura fights out of it and goes to charge at Joe, but he ends up getting kicked in the chest. Shinsuke Nakamura eventually hits the Kim Sasha onto Samoa Joe, but Nakamura's legs in too much pain to really make the cover, but then he eventually does, but Samoa Joe's able to kick out of it. He goes to hit it again. Joe counters into the Kia clutch, and Nakamura's able to fight out of it. He rolls up Joe, and then Joe hits a German suplex, a straightjacket suplex, and I don't know the exact name of the move, but it was pretty much like I think they called it a corker suplex. I don't know the name of the move, but Nakamura kicked out of every single one of them, and Joe was just in disbelief. And then Nakamura hits the Samoa Joe goes to charge at Nakamura, but Nakamura moves out of the way. He ends up going in between the ropes, and Nakamura ends up hitting the Kim Sasha to the back of Joe's head. He ends up falling out of the ring. And Nakamura could have just taken the count out, but he wanted to finish this war. He wanted to show no mercy to Samoa Joe. So the referee Joe's eye got cut open a little bit too, and the referee's checking on Joe, and Joe shoves the referee out of the way. Low blows Nakamura, Uranagi's him on the steps, and then hits the Muscle Buster coming out of the corner for the win, and becomes the NXT champion. Now, a couple of things to mention is I thought the match was amazing. I didn't mind the finish. And Samoa Joe's made history. He's done two things. He's the first person to beat Shinsuke Nakamura since he's coming to NXT. Nakamura was tearing down through everybody in NXT. And Samoa Joe beat him. And Samoa Joe's also the first ever two-time NXT champion. No one has ever accomplished that goal. And Samoa Joe's the first person to ever do that. So that's definitely interesting. I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan, though, of Samoa Joe going over. It really doesn't make any sense. You just kind of put the title on Shinsuke Nakamura. You really did all this build-up. And if I'd seen this before Survivor Series, I would have said, okay, this is understandable. You maybe want to call up Shinsuke Nakamura up to the main roster. There's really nothing you can do up down in NXT anymore. But he didn't debut at Survivor Series, and he hasn't debuted yet, so I don't know why they took the title off him. I don't really think that makes a lot of sense, so I don't really agree with Samoa Joe winning the NXT Championship here, but I don't mind it, so it's really weird. But the match was amazing, so, there's that. I don't think it was better than the NXT Tag Team match, though, just because I personally just wasn't a huge fan of Samoa Joe winning the title, so. But I think this is better than the first match, just because it was even the outcome was came out of nowhere. Like, the fans were even shocked that Nakamura lost the championship. And what I hated about this match was the dumb fan chants. Like, when the referee counts to count somebody out, they chant 10. I think that's stupid. It kind of, I don't know, I just don't personally like that. And then they just chanted 10 randomly during the match, so but overall, this was a great main event. An awesome main event. So, there we go. Alright, so then we get the Facebook Live video where Kathy Kelly interviews Triple H, and really they just kind of run down the show and just talk about it. So, that's all there really is to it. I thought he did a good job on it. He brought up some good, interesting points. And he mentioned everything pretty much that happened on the show that I've kind of been talking about, so I thought he did a good job. It was more like a work standpoint, though. It wasn't like he was talking about like faces or characters. It was more like a work, so I thought he did a good job. But then I like watching the interviews. They're good. So overall, I thought NXT Takeover Toronto was a really good show. I love the matches. I thought they were really good matches. I like that this felt like a big WWE pay-per-view where you had the barricades, and they had like the WWE pay-per-view setup, but it was obviously better than the WWE pay-per-view, but it kind of felt like it was like a big WWE pay-per-view, just booked better. I like, obviously I thought the card was good from top to bottom. The entrances with Bobby Roode's entrances, and I didn't even mention Shinsuke Nakamura's entrances when he came out with the violins, just like he did at NXT Takeover Brooklyn too. But this time he came out with like a bunch of them. I like that. You know, just really good stuff. Thought it was booked really well. Thought they had the right outcomes. Thought they had good matches. Nothing really to complain about. Usually these NXT Takeover special events deliver. I mean, I don't recall one that hasn't delivered. It's always at least good to amazing. You know, I don't even want to say great, but they're always either fantastic or just, you know, good. So, you know, I thought this was a good special. I thought it was really good. I thought it was really good. I don't know if this would be better than their past ones. I don't know. I would say maybe if I had to say, this would be of a quality of probably like an NXT Takeover All Evolution, or an NXT Takeover Unstoppable. I would say maybe that's in kind of like around that category. But so it's still really great, you know. But I think like there's been better NXT Takeovers that have been just fantastic. So, but this was overall a good show from top to bottom. Thought everything really clicked on the show, and I thought it was amazing. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to end off this season. This has been the season 2 of the Retro Wrestling Review series. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I'm nearly caught up now with NXT. I'm just going to end the season here. I am going to be, I know there's a couple more NXTs I got to catch up on. I am just going to do videos on them by myself. Just making my own videos and just, you know, because it's really not much of a Retro Wrestling Review series. I'm only like 2 weeks behind now, so I'm just going to review those episodes in their own video. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I am going to be coming up with this season 3, and I will be posting on the Facebook page what I will be talking about in season 3. So make sure you guys go check out the Facebook page. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to the CM Brothers channel, the Own Talkinator channel, and all the other channels down below. And that's pretty much it, guys. And check out the other videos on the Retro Wrestling Review series. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.